In feudal Japan, there was a man who possessed no natural talent. He wasn't the strongest, nor the fastest. Yet, he became the most feared warrior in history. While the gifted relied on their luck, he relied on a discipline so brutal, it was considered a form of madness. A discipline that turns ordinary men into monsters. Today, you are losing your battles because you are waiting for motivation. But I will show you the forbidden technique that makes discipline your only choice. Chapter 1. The Curse of the Gifted. In the frozen mountains of the Shinano province, where the wind cuts like a blade, there lived a student named Kaito. The dojo was his world, but it was a world that felt increasingly small. Kaito was surrounded by genius. He watched his peers, the so-called blessed ones, move with a natural grace that seemed divine. They mastered complex sword forms in a single afternoon, while Kaito spent months struggling with the basics. To them, the katana was an extension of their arm. To Kaito, it was a heavy piece of cold iron that refused to obey. Every training session was a fresh humiliation. While the others laughed during their breaks, discussing their future glory as legendary samurai, Kaito remained in the corner. His hands were blistered, his muscles screamed in pain, and his heart was heavy with a question he didn't dare ask out loud. Why am I here? He was the embodiment of mediocrity in a culture that worshipped brilliance. His movements were clumsy, his timing was off, and his spirit was beginning to flicker like a candle in a storm. He wasn't just losing to his rivals, he was losing to the idea that he simply wasn't enough. The whispers in the dojo were louder than the clashing of wooden swords. "He has no talent," they said. "He is wasting the master's time." Even the instructors looked at him with a mix of pity and frustration. They saw a boy trying to climb a mountain with broken legs. The world of the samurai was built for the gifted, for those born with the spark of greatness. Kaito had no spark. He had only a stubborn, quiet refusal to quit. But even that was fading. He stood on the edge of giving up, ready to return to the life of a common farmer, until one night he followed a trail of smoke to a hidden hut near the cliff's edge. There, he met a man who didn't care about talent. He met the blind master. Most people watch stories like Kaito's and do nothing. They remain spectators of greatness. If you are different, if you are committed to forging your own discipline, then join this circle. Subscribe and hit the like button. Not for me, but as a silent oath to yourself that you will not remain ordinary. Let the algorithm know that there are still those who seek the path of the machine. Chapter 2. The Forge of Silence. The hut was small, smelling of old cedar and dried herbs. In the center, sitting in perfect stillness, was the man they called the Blind Master. He didn't move when Kaito entered. He didn't even open his clouded eyes. "You come seeking a sword technique," the master said, his voice like grinding stones. "But your mind is too noisy to hear the steel." Kaito bowed, his heart racing. "Master, I have no talent. I am slow. I am weak. I want to know if there is a way for someone like me to reach the top." The master laughed, a dry, hollow sound. "Talent is a lie told by the lazy to justify their failure. You don't need talent. You need to die to who you are today." The training began not with a sword, but with a bucket. For 7 days, Kaito was ordered to carry water from the base of the waterfall to the top of the cliff. The path was jagged, slippery, and steep. Each step was an agony. His talented peers at the dojo were practicing elegant strikes, while Kaito was breaking his back under the weight of water. By the 3rd day, his legs gave out. He collapsed, the water spilling into the dirt. "I can't do this," Kaito whispered, his face in the mud. Suddenly, the master's staff struck the ground inches from his head. "The bucket is not heavy," the master barked. "Your resistance is heavy. You are fighting the task instead of becoming the task. Carry it again." This was the secret of Tanren, the spiritual forging. The master explained that discipline is not a schedule. It is a furnace. Just as a blade must be heated, hammered, and cooled thousands of times to remove impurities, The human spirit must be broken and rebuilt through repetition. The gifted ones rely on their ease, the master said as they sat by the fire. But ease is a poison. It makes the mind soft. When the real storm comes, the gifted will break because they never learned how to suffer. You, Kaito, are learning the art of gamen, enduring the unendurable. Every drop of sweat, every tear, is a layer of weakness leaving your body. Do not seek to be fast. Seek to be inevitable. Chapter 3. The Triumph of the Machine. The air in the dojo was cold, but the tension was enough to make the skin burn. Kaito stood at the entrance, a ghost returned from the mountains. He didn't look like a warrior. He looked like a man made of stone. His eyes were no longer searching for approval. They were fixed on a point beyond the physical world. The students whispered, their voices echoing the same old jokes. The failure has returned, they sneered, but Kaito didn't hear them. He only heard the rhythm of his own breathing, a slow, deep cadence he had mastered during 1,000 freezing nights under the waterfall. He wasn't there to prove them wrong. He was there to prove the truth of his discipline. Ren, the prodigy of the school, stepped forward. Ren was everything Kaito wasn't. Tall, lean, and gifted with a speed that seemed to bend time. He held his katana with a casual elegance that spoke of a lifetime of easy victories. "I see you've been playing in the dirt, Kaito," Ren said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "But talent is a bloodline. You cannot train your way into greatness." Kaito said nothing. He simply drew his blade. The sound of the steel leaving the scabbard was different this time. It wasn't a metallic screech. It was a whisper of death. The duel began with a burst of violence that left the spectators breathless. Ren moved like lightning. His blade was a blur of silver, striking from angles that would have killed any ordinary man in seconds. But Kaito was no longer an ordinary man. He was a machine built on the foundation of 10,000 repetitions. He didn't think about where the blade was going. His body already knew. His nervous system had been rewired in the furnace of the mountain. Every strike Ren made was met with a movement so precise, so minimal, that it looked as if Kaito was reading the future. This is the state of Mushin, the mind without mind. When you repeat a task long enough, the ego disappears, and only the action remains. Kaito was not fighting. He was simply letting the discipline flow through him. Minutes passed, and the prodigy began to sweat. His breath became ragged. His strikes, once perfect, started to show the cracks of desperation. This is the curse of the gifted. They rely on their natural ease, but they never learn how to endure when the ease disappears. Ren was hitting a wall he didn't understand. No matter how fast he moved, Kaito was there. No matter how clever his strategy, Kaito's routine was stronger. The Blessed One was breaking. His mind was screaming for a way out, while Kaito's mind was as silent as a grave. The spectators watched in horror as the hierarchy of their world was dismantled, strike by strike. The failure was now the master of the room. Then came the final move. Ren lunged forward with everything he had left, a desperate all-or-nothing strike. In that microsecond, Kaito felt the weight of the water bucket, the sting of the waterfall, and the voice of the blind master. He didn't parry. He simply stepped into the attack. A single, perfect rotation of his wrist, a movement he had performed in his sleep. The sound of Ren's katana hitting the wooden floor was the loudest sound Kaito had ever heard. The prodigy fell to his knees, his hands trembling. The silence that followed was absolute. Kaito looked down at the genius and saw not a rival, but a victim of his own talent. Discipline hadn't just defeated Ren, it had rendered him irrelevant. Chapter 4. The Modern Samurai. The story of Kaito is not a legend of the past. It is a mirror held up to your own life. Today, we live in an era of instant divinity. We are told that we can have everything now, success, health, and wisdom, without the forge. We have become a generation of blessed ones, relying on the cheap dopamine of our screens, waiting for the spark of motivation to move us. But look closely at the winners of our time. They are not the ones with the most talent. They are the ones who, like Kaito, decided to become a machine. They are the ones who realize that talent is a beautiful lie, but discipline is the only ugly truth that delivers results. You are losing your battles not because you lack potential, but because you lack the stomach for the mundane. Modern society has designed a world to keep you soft. Every app, every notification, every comfort is a strike against your tanrin, your spiritual forging. We have replaced the waterfall with the air conditioner, and the heavy bucket with the delivery button. When you choose ease, you are feeding the Ren inside you, the arrogant prodigy who breaks the moment life gets hard. Discipline is the art of self-imposed suffering. It is the voluntary choice to do what is difficult, not because you have to, but because it is the only way to kill the weakness that lives in your soul. To be a modern samurai, you must learn to crave the boredom of repetition. You must find a strange, dark joy in doing the same thing 10,000 times until your ego screams for mercy, and then doing it 10,000 times more. Ask yourself, what is your waterfall? What is the task you are avoiding because it doesn't feel inspiring enough? Motivation is a fair weather friend. It leaves you when the winter comes. Discipline is your brother in arms. It stays with you in the trenches. The greatest lie ever told is that you need to find your passion to be successful. No, you need to find your routine. You need to build a system where your success is no longer a choice you make every morning, but a mathematical certainty. When you wake up and do the work regardless of your mood, you are disarming the world. You are telling the universe that your will is stronger than your biology. You are no longer a human being reacting to stimuli. You are a force of nature. The path of the machine is lonely. People will not understand why you work when they sleep. They will not understand why you say no to temporary pleasure for a permanent victory. They will call you obsessed. They will call you cold. Let them. Their words are just wind against the mountain. Remember Kaito. Remember the silence of the dojo when the prodigy fell. That silence was earned in the dark, in the cold, and in the pain. Your silence is waiting for you at the end of your routine. Stop looking for a shortcut. There is no secret technique. There is only the bucket, the water, and the mountain. The only question left is, are you ready to start climbing, or will you remain a victim of your own convenience?